Welcome to Read the Lines Celebrity Insider Show. And today, do I have an incredible celebrity leading into the President's Cup at Quail Hollow? I have Paul Tesori with me, caddy for Webb Simpson. He's been around the golf course 80, 90 times. He's got 2 wins on the property. Paul, welcome to the show. Can't thank you enough for being with me today.
Yeah, Keith, thanks for inviting me on. And I like the fact that you called me a celebrity twice in the same intro. So anytime I'm feeling a little down, I might just hit a little rewind button and listen to it again.
Well, I had to grab you for this week because what is it about Charlotte that you love so much? You got a couple wins there. You've been there. You've looped around that place almost 100 times.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about going back. My first win around there was in '05 with VJ in a 3-man playoff against Sergio and Furyk. And then came back in '09 with a different player with Sean O'Hare and got a win. And then in 2011, I went to work for Quail Hollow resident, obviously being Webb Simpson. So there's a lot of ties that bring me close there. I've had a couple opportunities, around there with Webb as well. I finished second to Rory one year, albeit by 7. Rory seems to be doing pretty well around that place. And then we lost by 1 the year Ricky won. We had a 2-shot lead going into Sunday and ended up losing by 1. But it's a golf course I think that really requires a lot of kind of shot shaping off the tee, and it's the way my eye kind of sees it, and my players have all been similar as well.
So let's go back in time just for a second. It's been a while for you. Like I said, you've been there for a long time caddying. But when people turn it on this week, the President's Cup draws in a larger audience. What's everyone's first impression of the golf course going to be?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about kind of from the fan experience or golfer experience?
From the fan experience, television, the people that are
Yeah,
watching.
first of all, so I was up there a couple of weeks ago with Weber, just practicing, getting some work in. We went out and played 9 holes, and I don't think there's a blade of grass that's like outside perfection. They have gotten this place. It looks like they took Augusta and added a little steroids in there. It is immaculate. The greens are perfect. They were already running 11 when I was there, which just means you can't get too fast around that golf course. There's a lot of undulation, but I would think you're going to see some really slick greens, probably hovering around that 11 and a half, maybe even 12, which if you get much faster than that, you won't be able to keep balls on some of those surfaces. But it's in perfect shape. It's a gorgeous property. You'll see kind of the way it's still weaving throughout trees, the kind of new modern ways to take trees out, but they still have a lot of them around Quail. And so it gives you a little bit of everything. We've got a drivable par 4, which they'll do at least one round, maybe 2 via number 8 and number 14. So potentially 2 drivable holes. You've got obviously the Green Mile, which is pretty famous. 3 really difficult holes, which we're used to playing as 16, 17, and 18 for the golf tournament, and for viewing purposes to make sure everybody gets to see them. It'll be 13, 14, and 15.
Yeah, I can't imagine that par 3 17th shot as the 14th hole with a match on the line. I mean, just tremendous. So you're getting into the golf course there. We're talking a little bit about conditions. You talked about green speed, but overall, since you were out there just recently with Webb, is the golf course playing fast? How did Davis Love start to set this place up? Is he going to make it a bomber fest, or is he bringing the fairways in?
Well, what's interesting is if you really look at the 2 teams, I know that there's some members of the President's Cup, the international side, that a lot of guys don't know about. But if you go through it, especially Taylor Pendrith, who I don't think a whole lot of people know much about, let's just say this: no one hits it further than him on either side. He is, we call it a tier 1, which means he's an elite bomber. And that is a big kind of prerequisite around that golf course. Now, accuracy matters a lot. You go back through and look at all the past winners. You've got, VJ, you've got Tiger, you've got JT. Obviously, Rory has done a great job around there. O'Hare, Furyk, all these guys have kind of one thing in common. None of them have really necessarily been what you would call elite putters. Ricky Fowler obviously was for a while, but Lucas Glover won around there as well. But we know as you kind of go through, even James Hahn and Max Homa, who's a ball striking genius. You go back and look at the winners, and a lot of it is that accuracy. And so I did ask Davis a little bit. We got paired with him at Greensboro, and he said he's going to set it up very normal. Like, you won't see very many things different. Unlike the Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup, you'll start getting into some. I read some words from McIlroy that they're bringing in the fairways. They're trying to take some of the length out of play. They're trying to kind of same thing they did to us in France, which when we played the practice round in France, it was soaking wet, and we were hitting 3-wood off the first tee. When in the singles on Sunday against Justin Rose, we had a 5-iron off that tee. They turned the water off, and made sure that they held that advantage. So you'll see a lot less of that for the President's Cup this time around. It's just going to be good old Quail. They are hoping, and it looks like with the weather that we have coming, it's going to be firm and fast. It's going to be dry and cool. And so I think firm and fast is what you'll see. And that's the way that course is supposed to be played.
We start talking about Webb. He lives there. He's a member there. What kind of local knowledge? I know he's going to play a role with Davis's, team and with the President's Cup. What kind of local knowledge do you think he'll share with the team that will help them get around there?
Yeah, so being an assistant captain for a guy like Webb, he's one of the most beloved players out there, just because he's truly probably the nicest man I've ever met in my life. And I said that just in case he's listening, obviously, but no, I'm kidding. He's a great man. But I think the biggest thing he's going to do, Webb is chipped and putted around that golf course more than anything. The life of a professional golfer sometimes looks a little different. He doesn't come home and go play 18 4 days a week, but what he does a lot, he lives on the golf course there, is he'll go get a cart and he'll go around and chip and putt for 9 holes, maybe hit 100 chips and 100 putts. So there are certain things he knows around that golf course, to certain pin placements, that he'll be able to walk through with the guys. That he'll be able to talk through the guys. Hey, I know you guys know what you're doing. Your caddies know what you're doing. Just let me give you a couple little tidbits here or there. Certain wins on holes like the 14th hole, the drivable par four. Hey guys, with a left to right win here, a lot of times guys like to lay up, because with a left to right win, you got to chip. And he would be like, well, no, you're chipping back into the wind. And on 3 of these 4 pins, no matter kind of where you hit it over here, you're going to be able to get it within 15 feet, and obviously possibly closer. So it's a hole that, he feels like you should go for almost every time. And those little type of things, I think he's going to be invaluable with, even on a hole like 18, where he's hit every bad drive imaginable, because the more you play that hole, but he's also got some ideas of kind of like what to do on that golf hole. The right bunker being tough, obviously no one wants to hit it in the creek. So I think just his personality, his desire to make sure everybody has a great time, and also his desire of the eateries around the city. Dave has leaned on Webb quite heavily, just saying, hey, where do we need to take the boys? Where do we need to eat? And Webb was ready to go for that.
Well, these matches always seem to be decided by short game, by putting, and to have that local knowledge and that advantage is huge for the American side. And we'll talk more about the matches in a second, but part of the thing that I think everyone loves about these exhibitions is the pairing and what the captains have to do to put partners together. Now,
Yeah.
you've caddied in a bunch of team matches and you've seen the chemistry take place. Let's start with foursomes, the alternate shot format. What makes a good foursomes partner?
Yeah, such a good question. I've been fortunate to do 8 President's Cups and 3 Ryder Cups, so 11 team events total. And I've seen a little bit of everything, where things can go wrong. And then I'm going to go into your answer about what things can go right. But I worked for O'Hare in 2009 at the President's Cup in San Fran. One of his best friends, Hunter Mahan, they also both worked with Sean Foley. So obviously they wanted to play together. They played practice rounds together and all that. And me and John Wood, who was Hunter's caddy at the time, we got together and like, I don't think I like this team. When those two were running good, nobody was better. They were fearless. They were ready to go. They were positive, energetic. When they started running bad, they kind of got the case of the mopes a little bit. And what you want to make sure in these kind of things is, hey, if your back gets up against the wall, do we have energy? Do we have conviction? Do we have positivity to kind of come out of that hole? And so John and I went to captain couples at the time and said, hey, just want to throw this out there. I know these two really want to play together, but Hunter, I don't think had missed a fairway in about 3 years at the time. And Sean kind of liked it outside the comfort zone. He liked it in the trees a little bit. He liked being in a place where things were a little bit more difficult. So sure enough, we went out again. I think it was against Ishikawa and, man, I don't want to mess that up. Maybe Ernie, but we got hammered. I think they got beat 4-3. And it was kind of exactly what we talked about. Sean got a little wild, and Hunter didn't really know what to do out of the rough. He's not used to being there. They got a little behind early, got a little frustrated early. The group got quiet early. And so the opposite of that would be what you just mentioned, which is foursomes. What makes a great partner? First of all, a great driver of the ball makes a good partner no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through. One of the, I think, biggest mistakes sometimes guys make is, so our first team event with Webb was 2011 President's Cup, Bubba Watson. Close friends, But Webb and I had always said foursomes is what makes the most sense with Bubba, and no one really understood it. Wouldn't you want him in best ball or or four ball? And no, the guy drives it incredibly straight. He hits his irons so far that you don't really feel pressure to try to push the ball down there on certain holes. You feel like, and the best part about Bubba is, hey, I think he led the tour in three putt avoidance like 5 years because unfortunately for him, good for his partner, he never hits the putts very hard. One reason why he's had a success around Augusta, he always has been a lag putter. So if you take a guy that drives it well and lags his putts, that's a dream come true. I don't think Brant will mind me busting on him a little bit, but the President's Cup in 2013 at Muirfield, Brant was hitting it good, but he wasn't putting the way we're used to putting. And no matter how Brant is going, if he's missing putts or making putts, he's going to rip them. And so Weber had to make a couple of 6-foot comebackers after having a 10-footer for birdie. So that's a little bit. And then obviously personality wise, I think we already know some of the American teams. You got Jordan and Justin. They're going to team up. Obviously, you're going to see Xander and Patrick. They're going to team up because they have chemistry. They play the game. They see the game similar, and they've got that fight in them as well. And then you'll see kind of the role Webb has played in the past, kind of like a utility infielder in baseball, which is you'll have your phenols of the world. You can put Tony with anybody. Everyone loves him. One of the nicest guys out there, drives it straight, massive competitor, easy to get along with. And so I call it, Webb's always kind of been that utility infielder. Like, who do you need him to go play with? Who do you have a hard time pairing him with? Let's go put Webb with him because he can get along with anybody. We saw the President's Cup in Australia where we played with Patrick Reed the first 3 days, and we like Patrick, but also they were having a hard time kind of pairing him with someone. So a guy like Weber, that was easy for.
Yeah, I feel like Max Homa is going to jump into that role, that utility infielder role, because everybody loves him, and the guy's obviously he's just a really, really good ball striker. So whether it's foursomes or four ball, whatever it may be, Scotty and Sam Burns, that's another pairing,
Yes, for sure, absolutely for
right?
sure. Like again, I don't think those are things that are going to surprise him. In fact, I would be shocked if those three teams we just mentioned like aren't together at the beginning. Now,
Yeah.
if something happens, if one guy's cold and the other guy's running hot, sometimes they'll be like, hey, I know you're running a little cold right now. We're going to let you sit and put somebody else in that mold. Because remember, they took a lot of points away starting in 2019 in the President's Cup over in Australia. The President's Cup used to be 32 points, then they went to 30, and now I believe it's the straight 28, which is what the Ryder Cup goes off of. So the less points means more people sit. I think they'll try to get everybody at least 3 matches, but again, President's Cup 2019, Tiger is the captain. I think Bryson only played 2 matches, his first match and then singles. So you never know, but the hope would be let's try not to let more than 1 or 2 guys at max go 5 and try to get everybody 3 matches.
Yeah, so everyone they changed the requirements on that. Everyone has to play at least one team match and one. Obviously, they're all going to play singles.
Yes,
It used to be required you had to play 2 team matches, but
make
it's 30 points total. You've got 5 matches Thursday, 5 matches Friday, 30 or 2 sets of matches on Saturday, and then the 12 singles on Sunday. And just a
that's great.
fantastic format.
Okay, so the 2 extra points are the first 2 days. Ryder Cup, it's 4 and 4. Okay, that's great to know. I wish we had more points. Again, it's an exhibition. It's the way it's set out. Why do you not want to see the best players in the world? I know why teams have done it is to minimize the U.S.'s depth that they've always had. I know that's why the Ryder Cup went to that. I just wish again, if it's an exhibition and we're trying to find out who the best team is, let's add those points back in. I kind of wish the Ryder Cup would bump it by 2, but 30 is a good number.
Here's one for you. So we talked about what makes a good foursome partner. How about a good four-ball partner? At the Ryder Cup last year, DJ with Colin, right? How about Finau and Colin? How about those two together? Is that like a similar sort of matchup, or who do you like as a four-ball partner? What makes a great four-ball partner?
Yeah, I do like that team, Finau and Morikawa. I mean, how couldn't you? I mean, look at the guys that we're talking about right now. You can't really go wrong. I think the biggest thing that I've always liked to see is I kind of like opposites attract in four ball, which would mean like the O'Hare and Mahan pairing. Their games were a little bit opposite, but their minds were similar as far as they both maybe could get a little down on themselves. So in this situation, maybe a little bit opposites attract. Like, hey, let's get a guy that's really accurate down the middle, blah blah blah. A guy that might be a little bit wild, but it's good to see your guy down the middle. So this guy might make his 6 birdies, but spray it. But this other guy, if he's in trouble, is going to be splitting it right down the middle of the fairway. And then if you do have a guy, which going through the team right now, it's amazing kind of the way the landscape of golf, especially the U.S. side, looks. There's not very many guys that get as far as we all get a little frustrated, we all get a little down, but I don't see any non-fighters on that team. And so, obviously for the international team too. But so I think the attitude thing will be not very much of an issue. But I'd like to pair two guys together. Colin, who obviously ball strikes it really well, but hasn't putted necessarily the way he's used to putting. Let's maybe put him with a guy who's been hot lately. Again, going to Finau, I just saw on Instagram he shot 60, 12 under on an 8,100 yard golf course. Incredible to watch the round. And obviously won two of his last five starts. So a guy that's putting much, much better, a guy that's really positive and energetic. Two guys that are going to ball strike it together. So I think that would be good. And then we've seen just through Patrick and Xander, and for those of you that don't know them, their personalities are quite different. Xander's a little bit hyper, very fun, like kind of up here. Or Patrick's very, very quiet, very reserved. I've heard you get him kind of in his circle, and it comes out. The wittiness and the all that kind of comes out. I haven't had the opportunity to see a whole lot of that yet, but when you get those two together, massive fighters, obviously play the game quite similar. Patrick's probably a little more kind of down the middle. Xander maybe a little bit more spray, but when it all comes down, both great putters, both high competitors, and they're going to be good.
Well, you know what, Paul? I really wanted to talk to you today because you're out there on tour. You were just at the Fortinet last week, and you see everybody that's out there. And you already mentioned like Taylor Pendrith. And a lot of us aren't familiar with some of these international names. Do they have a secret weapon or two on that side, like a Taylor Pendrith? I mean, who
Yeah.
are the guys there that you think really will play well at Quail?
So the thing that people don't realize, and there's been so much talk about the President's Cup about how the U.S. is dominated. But you go back all the way to 2009. I've been on every one of those teams except for one, and the only one I wasn't on was the blowout. So hopefully, no captains listening to that, and they try to lead me off the next one with Weber. But they've all been really close. 2009, it came down to the last couple of matches. 2011 in Australia, it came down to the last two matches. 13 at Muirfield came down to the last two matches.
Yeah.
15 at in Korea came down to the last group, last hole.
Match. Yep.
17, arguably one of the greatest teams we'll see put together by the U.S. That one was a blowout. But then 19, we were getting smoked. We were getting handed to. At one point, it looked like it was going to be 8.5 to 1.5 with two groups left on the course when JT and Patrick both made huge putts in different groups on the last hole just to get it doable. I think it was the largest comeback in President's Cup history. So, these matches have been close. And you look at this international team, while your average fan might not know a lot about them, they're fearless. And one thing jumps out about all of them. They are premier ball strikers. They all hit it really, really straight. They're all fearless. You go through Tom Kim, this kind of new sensation that we've seen. He doesn't hit it far, but he's down the middle. Fearless competitor. Won in Greensboro this year and he finished top 5 before that. Corey Connors, known for his ball striking, one of the best in the world. Adam Scott, Sung J M, Taylor Pendrith, who hits it as far as anybody in the world. Christian Bezadenhout, who, again, not long, but down the middle. He's been in big spots. And Munoz and Cam Davis and all these guys, they're all this. And when you go into something like this where literally no one's giving you a chance, I think this might be the hardest job for a captain that we've seen in a long time. And I think it's going to make sure that the guys are hungry, that they're ready to go. And again, you're dealing with world-class athletes. It won't take much to get them going, but I really expect this to be close. I expect it to come down to the last few matches on Sunday.
Well, you know what? I think you're absolutely right. I think at the end of the day, the difference in the quality of the player between the two sides overall, top to bottom, yes, I mean, I get it. We have a bunch of guys in the top 10 in the world, but it's splitting hairs sometimes when you're talking about the 10th guy in the world and the 25th guy in the world, and nobody knows that better than you. And if the putts are rolling in, momentum is a funny thing. I was there at Brookline in '99, and I watched it swing both ways. And I tell you, it was just unbelievable. Once the momentum started going in the right direction or the wrong direction, you just can't stop it, which, I think makes these matches so wonderfully entertaining. And I think Quail is going to be a tremendous, tremendous location for this. Paul, you have been tremendous today, breaking all this down for us. One last question. Who's the secret weapon on the American side?
I really think it's the guy you just mentioned. Definitely Max Homa doesn't fly under the radar no matter what he does. But I think his presence in the team room, his comedic ability, his fight. I mean, he's a competitor. Like, he is hungry. He is energetic. Him and Joe Joe Griner, his caddy, set out very early in the year. This was like number one on their list, was this President's Cup team. And coming in off a win, you're flying high. He's going to come into a fun team room. They played a practice round yesterday. Nobody on the golf course. They played a full 18. I'm sure Max, maybe he relaxed a little bit more because he would have been coming in on that red eye. But actually, they flew in privately, so there was no red eye coming in. So he still would have gotten a good night's rest. But I really think when it comes down, the most important thing that we've seen is what's going on in the team room. And you add a Max Homa to the mix no matter what you do. And it's just going to add the enjoyment, the banter, the wisecracks, all that stuff. It's going to go up. And I think obviously his caddy too, Joe Griner, is he's right. He's a chip off the old block when it comes to Max too. He's going to be the secret weapon. I think he's going to have a monster week. I think he'll get at least 3 points, and I think he'll be the difference maker.
Well, I tell you, he's the only guy in the field that's won there.
Yeah, there you go. That I didn't know that. Only guy in the field that's won there. Yeah, there you go. Hey, well, technically JT's won there too. That was PGA Championship, but
fair enough.
He won a bigger prize there. He's the only one that won Wachovia, but Justin won that big one, the PGA. So yeah, he'll have a lot to be said. That's for sure.
Great call on JT there. And folks, that's why Paul Tesori, we brought him in, and that's why he's the celebrity insider for the President's Cup this week there at Quail Hollow. Paul, I can't thank you enough. You got to come back some other time when we talk about another golf course. You have been great. I really appreciate it.
Keith, anytime, have me on. Hopefully me and Weber get our game turned around, and we can talk about him a little more next time.
Oh, there's no doubt that that's coming. Let's get to one of those, par 4 paradises that Webb just tears up. And I know he'll be back in the top 10s and be winning before we know it.
I love it. Thanks again, Keith.